It would be hard to name a series that has consistently had a higher standard of games than the Xeno series, and this is largely why it's one of my favourite gaming series of all time. Xenoblade Chronicles X was originally released in 2010 as an unrelated sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles. Chronicles was my favourite game on the Wii, so naturally I had huge expectations for the sequel on the Wii U. While very different from its predecessor, it did not disappoint and easily took the title of my favourite RPG on the Wii U console, which, to be completely honest, really wasn't that hard considering its lack of quality RPGs. And because of its Wii U exclusivity, I know that there are a lot of you out there who haven't had a chance to play this game yet, and I am so glad that now everyone will be able to on the Switch. I also think that it's an amazing way for the Switch to go out. There aren't too many other big name titles being released before the Switch 2 is released, and Xenoblade Chronicles X is a great way to conclude the lifespan of this incredible console. Before we get into it, if you liked this video, it would help me out a lot to hit that like button and sub for more JRPG content coming soon. You could also hit that super thanks or join as a member if you'd like to further support this channel. And a huge thank you goes to Nintendo for providing me with the review code for the game. What is your story with Xenoblade Chronicles X? Are you a first time player? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, let's get into it. In the current age of remasters, sometimes you get games that have just been given a minor update with a fresh coat of paint. At other times, you get games that offer many new features and extra content that help improve the core experience in many ways. Xenoblade Chronicles X, the definitive edition, is clearly an example of the latter. There have been many alterations this time around, but in the interest of keeping this short and sweet, I'll just cover the major ones that really helped in making this the definitive version of the game. To start with, there are 2 new party members to recruit, which means new missions too. These party members can also be changed on the fly rather than having to find and talk to them in town. All characters also gain experience, which really encourages experimenting with multiple party members throughout your journey. Then there's the new post-game content, which provided even more content to this already massive game. In terms of combat, the fundamentals remain unchanged, but there is a new quick cooldown mechanic which makes things feel faster with less waiting around, but more on this later. I feel like most of these changes were in response to the criticisms that the original game received, and when a remaster is aware of this and acts on it, you know that it's more than a simple cash grab. I played Xenoblade Chronicles X and loved it on release. This time around, I loved it even more. Earth was a happy place. Was a happy place. That was until 2 unknown alien races decided to battle it out near Earth, which ends up completely destroying the planet. Fortunately, a transport vessel named the White Whale escapes. This vessel spends the next couple of years looking for a new home until they're shot down by that same alien race that destroyed Earth. This causes the White Whale to crash down into an unknown planet later named Mira, and then it's a quest for survival. The story itself is really cool and full of plenty of twists and turns. The whole idea of crash landing on a beautiful unexplored planet inhabited by God knows what and exploring it for the first time is really incredible. There are some awesome cutscenes throughout this journey of survival, and these drive the plot well, but there are also plenty of MMO style scenes with a zoomable rotatable camera, and I found this a lot less engaging. The game story is separated into chapters, and this is fine, except that there's often barriers in place that you need to remove prior to commencing a story quest. These include things like completing a certain quest or exploring a certain amount around Mira. I was really not a fan of this, as it's a great disruption to the flow of the story, as completing these prerequisites often takes hours. As you venture through Mira and the new human settlement known as New LA, you'll meet a load of different characters from a range of different species. Something unique about Chronicles X compared to other games in the Xeno series is that you start the game by creating your own main character. And for absolutely no reason at all, here's my main character from 10 years ago compared to my character this time around. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, I did not like the whole silent protagonist thing here. At the start of the game, he is awoken, and from there, he does nothing more than stand around and look pretty, and my dude doesn't even do that very well. Occasionally, you're given the choice to choose a response, but this disrupts the flow of the scene by pausing the scene and cutting off the background music. The reason for Mr. Personality's starring role is to link offline play with online play, but when something as important as a quality main character is sacrificed for a trivial element such as optional online quests that require a paid subscription, I have a problem. There are 22 playable characters to accompany Mr. Personality, many being optional recruits. Unlocking them all will take quite a bit of work, as most require the completion of specific side quests. You won't know much about most of these characters simply by completing the main game. You have to take on the many optional affinity missions to learn about them, and these are great and are also fully voiced. This game has a huge scope, and investing time into each of these characters is very worthwhile. I promise you this, you will want to put many hours aside to explore the lands of Mira. The amount of detail and sheer scope of the land is second to none, and exploring every inch was always my #1 priority. Unlike the other Xenoblade games, the world is completely open and connected, with most of the areas being accessible early in the game if you're willing to take the time to get there. The first thing I always strive to do was find specific points on the map for my data probes, which not only created fast travel points but also reveals information on the nearby map segments. Each of these hexagonal segments also has its own objective, which will contribute to the exploration level of each region. These include things like defeating the tyrant monster, finding specific wreckages, or completing a certain quest. Revealing the entire map and completing each segment will take you a lot of time, but doing this is probably the single best thing about the game. For the first large portion of the game, you'll need to explore the world by foot, but the true magic happens when you acquire your mech, which are called skells. The feeling of getting into the cockpit and soaring into the skies for the first time was amazing. You can finally get to those places that you previously couldn't. Everything you see in the distance can be reached. You want to climb that massive mountain over there? You can do that. This is what every open world game aspires to be, and I feel like even a decade later, Xenoblade Chronicles X still takes the crown in this area. Now, Mira is filled with a load of creatures, and they are incredible. They all range in levels, so you have to actively stay away from certain places and come back later. This is especially true for the unique tyrant enemies, who are much more powerful than your regular monsters. And while I loved that these lands are so populated with different types of creatures, I would have loved to see them maul each other. Humans just got to the planet, but why are we their only food source? Massive creatures battling it out in the background would have made things feel even more epic, but at least they did implement this in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. With that said, I didn't really care when my fish-faced MC was destroyed. He definitely deserved it. Xenoblade Chronicles X was a damn good looking game when it was released, and 10 years on, it still looks amazing. The environments are gorgeous, full of life, and it really feels like every inch has been carefully handcrafted. With that said, there is quite a lot of pop-ups, sometimes with assets that are close to the character, but on the other hand, there are also large monsters that can be seen from a mile away. The character models unfortunately do not retain the quality of these landscapes. My main character reminded me of a dead fish with oversized lips and a lack of expression, and the same rings true to the other characters who don't have much in the way of facial animations. And then we have the music. Wowee, where do I start? This is a textbook definition of mixed bag, and I was not a fan of some of it. Some tracks work incredibly well in setting atmosphere when running through the giant regions of Mira. This makes me want to explore. Then there's a hip-hop style experimental sounding tracks that filled the regions of New LA. Most of these are vocal tracks with uhs and oohs, and I do not approve. New LA is the hub of the game, but thanks to the music, it is not a place that I want to return to. I was thinking that maybe this style would grow on me through the decade. I was wrong. The battle system works much like the other Xenoblade games. You take control of one character at a time, with basic attacks being unleashed automatically. The strategy comes in selecting arts at the right time. There are loads of arts to learn from the 16 different classes. Each art has a cooldown and often a special situation that makes the art more effective, such as doubling its attack power if you attack the enemy from behind. Something new to the remaster is Quick Arts, which lets you instantly use an art regardless of its cooldown. This Quick Art gauge will deplete as cooldown seconds are consumed, but will also replenish at the start of the next battle. This was such a great feature in making the shorter fights even quicker and greatly reduces the amount of time you'll need to wait around for arts to be available again. The allies that you aren't controlling in battle act on AI, but you are given some basic commands for them in battle, such as concentrating attacks on a single enemy. Each of the characters that fight with you in battle are permanently assigned to a certain class, but what I liked is that each character has a couple of arts completely unique to them. This gives you a little more to think about when setting up your party. With that said, I always use Lim and Elma as party members since they're often locked into your party for story missions. Having a convoy system in place for these story-focused members would have encouraged me to use a wider range of allies in battle. And then we have the scale battles. These uber powerful machines not only allow you to travel to every nook in the world, but also enable you to take on the biggest, most deadly creatures scattered around Mira. You can attach several weapons to these things, with each weapon having their own associated art. Those giant monsters that absolutely kicked my ass in the past, now they're the ones that should be worried. Yeah, scales make you feel godly, and this is brilliant, but once scales are available to you, fighting on foot becomes rather pointless. There are a select few places where you are forced to fight without a scale, but a large majority of the world can only be conquered in these powerful machines. I would have liked more opportunity to show off my character's power rather than just my scale's power. Xenoblade Chronicles X is massive. If you want to simply play through the story, you can expect a decent sized RPG, but if you want to do everything, you'll need to set aside hundreds of hours. Now, I will admit that this can be a little overwhelming at first, but once you understand the systems, Xenoblade Chronicles X will be hard to put down. Apart from the main story, there's basic missions from the NPC board, and then there's NPC quests which are much more detailed. Then there's the character's affinity missions which provide the characterization for the many party members that you can recruit. We also have the world exploration, which involves finding the probe locations and completing the segment objectives, as well as discovering the many hidden scenic locations, the wreckages, and the hundreds of collectible items for your collectopedia, and the powerful tyrant monsters. And this isn't even taking into account the hours you'll probably be spending gathering materials to craft the best weapons and armor. This game is huge in every way imaginable. Xenoblade Chronicles X goes above and beyond in just about every area, and its RPG mechanics are no exception. There are so many things that you can do to make your party stronger for battle, and so much tinkering that can be done to personalize your party. And while this can be very complicated, it's also designed in a way that makes it very accessible for all types of gamers. If you want to play more casually, you could just stick to a single class, select a range of skills and arts to equip, then pick the equipment with the highest stats. This will be more than enough to complete the game. But if you want to take things to the next level, you can mix and match skills from a range of classes and carefully customize your weapons with additional effects to truly give you the edge against the most powerful optional enemies in the game. The depth and the possibilities here feel truly limitless, and if you're after a JRPG with some hardcore mechanics, then Xenoblade Chronicles X will tick all of the boxes. Xenoblade Chronicles X is just as good as I remember, and the recent release of this remaster means that now everyone can experience its greatness again, or for the first time. I absolutely loved the sci-fi premise of the game. Crashing down on an unexplored planet on a quest for survival really clicked with me. The story also has some great moments, but unfortunately, it is held back by its fish-faced silent protagonist and the barriers that prevent progression. Exploring Mira is the best part of Xenoblade Chronicles X. It not only looks beautiful, but it is massive, and with the inclusion of scales, you can explore every single inch of it. There's also so much to do. I've played through the game twice now, and I still feel that there's a load that I haven't done. You completionists out there, you're in for a long one. Xenoblade Chronicles X is also perfect for those into deep RPG mechanics. If you want to, you could spend hours tinkering and tweaking countless builds. But if there's one thing that I've never been a fan of, it is the soundtrack. Sure, there are some amazing tracks when exploring Mira, but New LA? That is a different story. Xenoblade Chronicles X is an amazing JRPG in so many ways, and it is still quite possibly in the best game ever tier when it comes to the exploration. If you have ever had the urge to give this game a go, now you can, and I highly suggest that you do. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, it would help me out a lot to hit that like button and sub for more RPG content coming soon. Also, let me know what you thought about the game in the comments below. See you next time.